What's going on, folks? I'm Goat, and welcome to the Week 6 evaluation. So, I'll just say this. I've been trying to shoot these Monday night, basically as soon as my wife goes to bed after the Monday night football game. Has not really been working out that way so well, but I've been trying to. The last couple of weeks, I've been a little off. Just, kids' soccer games and shit like that. Just, life. Excuse me. And burps, apparently, too. Burps, because why not? Yeah, so let's just start this off. Bucks and Eagles. Bucks 28, Eagles 22. Truthfully, the shocker to me in this one only is the score. I did not expect the Eagles to really stand a chance in this game. I just didn't. So, let's go over my notes. Buccaneers, Brady was Brady. 34 of 42 for 297 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. They also rushed for 102 yards against a very underperforming, struggling defense. And the struggles, it's not that the defense for the Eagles is terrible, but they're dealing, like a lot of other teams, they're dealing with injuries, they're running some backups, and they're just not really performing all that well. Just the truth. There's no knock on them, but other teams are dealing with injuries. Buccaneers, perfect example, dealing with injuries, yet somehow still winning games. Even if they do come down like this kind of score, they're still winning games. So you can't just say, oh, my team's plagued with injuries. My team is just underperforming because of backups. No. Next man up rule, guys. Come on. So for the Buccaneers, though, it didn't have to be pretty on either side against a struggling Eagles team. It just didn't. Granted, the Eagles put up a fight, but I can tell you that even with the present defensive woes for the Bucs, they just didn't have enough. And that really is the truth. Just like I said, the Bucs secondary is a fucking mess right now. It really is. There's no getting around that. The Bucs secondary is just fucking beat to shit. So, whatever. The Eagles, as I expected, the Eagles just looked very off in this game. They looked very off in this game offensively. And I will say one thing here, because I'm pretty sure I didn't put it in the notes. Considering what Brady's been doing against mediocre to bad teams, like absolutely laying 35 plus points on them, to literally hold Brady to 297 yards and keep it at the score of 28 points, that says that the Eagles aren't a terrible defense. They're having their problems, okay, but they're not a terrible defense. So I do want to make that clear. I'm not just knocking their dicks in the dirt. I'm really not. What killed the Eagles in this game is the offense, and we're going to go over that. I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts doesn't have what it takes, but to expect this guy to just pick up an overall underperforming offensive team, it's just a pipe dream. He went 12 of 26, so under 50% passer rating, for Christ's sake, or completion percentage, for 115 yards and a touchdown and a pick. And they rushed for 100 yards, and 44 of those yards was Jalen Hurts. They just didn't look like they were ever really in this game from the beginning, although they did try to rally a comeback in the fourth. They just didn't have enough. The defense, against this Bucs squad, just didn't get it done until the fourth quarter, but at that point it was too little too late. It really was. It really was. They stood up to him for 3 fucking quarters. They really did, but man, that fourth quarter hit and it was game on, dude. What do you do? Next game, another one that I need to apologize to the United Kingdom for, because you guys really deserve better games than what the fuck we're sending over to you across the pond. You guys get the Dolphins and the Jaguars, mediocre and shit. That's really what it is. And the worst part is that the shit team won. Dolphins 20, Jaguars 23. Dolphins. As I've been saying, this team is mediocre at best, and it's sad given what they have to work with. Tua actually played in this game, went 33 of 47 for 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Not a terrible day for him, honestly, but they could only muster 77 yards against that Jaguars struggling defense. This is just not a winning formula for Tua, making him throw 47 times and not even rushing for 100 yards. Even though he did look good. I am going to put that out there. He did look good. Not amazing, but he did look good. Defensively, how the hell do you give up this game to the Jags? Like, seriously. The Jags are one of the worst, if not the worst team in the league right now, and you just let them get their first win of the season. Yeah, this team has entirely too many fucking holes, guys. The Dolphins just have a fuck ton of holes. And this 100% proves exactly what I've been saying for weeks. They got a ton of shit that they need to fix because they literally just let the Jags, who are an absolute fucking dumpster fire, come in and beat them. I say come in. They both flew over to UK, but still. Jaguars. Well, kudos to the Jags for at least getting the game and breaking, I shit you not, an NFL record 20-game losing streak. But this game really came down to the best of the worst and the winner as a winner. It sucked. Oh my god, I have fucking hair in my eye yet again. It sucks to say that because honestly, I had hopes for this team to at least make some sort of a decent comeback this season. And as of yet, they just haven't even been close to that. Trevor Lawrence went 25 of 41 for 319 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. That's a good thing for him. Congrats to him for getting his first win at least. They could only pull together 84 yards of rushing, but this was enough to pull out a win. Honestly, given all the problems that the Jaguars defense is facing, good on them for holding off the Dolphins for a win. There's really not much else to say on this game. I don't understand how in the hell the Dolphins allowed them to win. I was truthfully at this point expecting the Jaguars to go winless. At the rate the season's been going, kudos to them for pulling it out, man. Vikings and Panthers. This one went to overtime. Vikings 34, Panthers 28. So I do want to preface the fact that this does not scream that the Vikings are all of the sudden great. It's just the truth. This was a great step in getting Dalvin Cook some confidence, though. And this is really the truth, guys. 100% truth. Dalvin Cook has had an interesting couple of seasons. Dalvin Cook is a very, very, very gifted running back. And he's just had a couple of really wonky seasons with some weird injuries and just not great performances. So Dalvin Cook needed a good confidence-building kind of game. And boy, did he get it in this one. Kirk Cousins, though, 33 of 48. My fucking God. With as many rushing yards as they got, the fact that they threw this much just breaks my head. 33 of 48 for 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Good on Kirk Cousins for that one. They also rushed for 198 fucking yards, with 140 of that being Dalvin Cook. Defensively, the Vikings are still showing their struggles, but they barely scraped out with this game. That is the truth. Panthers. I want to put this out there. I should have never said anything good about them. When the coach even calls out the entire offensive squad, specifically Sam Darnold, but singling out the whole damn offensive squad is just not playing good enough. Yeah, that's a thing. This damn team is becoming more of a mess each week. Sam Darnold goes 17 of 41. That is a 41% completion percentage, folks. 17 of 41 for a whopping 207 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. They did rush for 118 yards with 5 different fucking players. This was just a mess, and I'm honestly shocked that the Vikings actually let it happen. The fact that they were amazingly able to get this game to overtime is even more shocking. But it's not surprising that they allowed the touchdown at the end of the game to lose this game. This is just another one showing just how piss poor this team is getting. I mean, what else do you say? Really, what do you say? How did I fuck this up? What the hell? Hold on. I apparently forgot to put a score in a game because I'm a jackass. Wow. Goat, you fucking idiot. What the hell? So, next game, absolute game of interest for me. For a couple of reasons. One, it is now one of the top AFC teams, and the other one that was showing real promise and then just absolutely got smoked. Okay? Chargers, Ravens. The Chargers have been on a fucking roll, dude. The Chargers have been on a roll. Looking really fucking good. Not this game. Nope. Chargers 6, Ravens 34. Somebody else want to question the Ravens at this point? They went up against a good fucking team and just beat the snot out of them. People want to talk about the Buffalo Bills, and that's fine, but guess who's got the better record? We'll get into that one. Right now, this game to me proves to me that the Ravens, if they can continue this success, we're in week 6. I'm not trying to overbloat where the fuck we're at in the season, but if the Ravens can continue this level of success, they will be the top AFC team without question, because right now they are. They can beat contending teams. They are built to beat contending teams. They are fucked up in the secondary. They lost their entire running back core at the beginning of the fucking season or in preseason, okay, and had to completely rebuild that. And they've had injuries here and there throughout the season, and yet they're the top team in the AFC. I'm a Chiefs fan, okay? I would love to have seen the Chiefs beat the Ravens, but the Ravens beat us. They beat us fair and fucking square, guys. I am not a Lamar Jackson hater. I think that the guy has massive potential, both as a quarterback and as a mobile player, okay? And no, I don't just think he's a running back that occasionally throws. I think he's actually a very fucking gifted athlete. That is truthfully what I think. Do I think that he is a better runner than a thrower? Yes. But do I think that he's incapable of throwing the fucking ball? Absolutely not. No, this dude can heave it. This dude can chuck it. Oh, I have to deal with that in a minute. Wow. Sorry. Chargers. Jesus Christ, I've got to stop talking good about teams when they're at a high point. So they went against a pretty damn solid defense. They've went against pretty solid defensive squads with gaps in the secondary, and good lordy, the gameplay was everything. 115 yards in the air and only 23 yards on the ground in 3 quarters alone. That's how you lose games. When you go through 3 of 4 quarters of the game and you only have 115 passing yards and 23 rushing yards, you ain't winning shit. Unless your defense is playing absolutely perfect lights out against your opponent, you ain't winning a goddamn thing. When you start the 4th quarter by giving up a touchdown and allowing the score to be 34-6, it just puts it completely out of reach for almost any team. And it's not like the Chargers' defense is just falling apart. Sorry. It's like the Chargers' defense has just fallen apart starting with that Browns game last week. And the Ravens, man, they're just not the team to go up against with a weak defense. They're just not. They're not, man. They will fucking pick you apart like they did in this game. I mean, truth be told, with a score like this, with 2 squads that you actually have the expectation that are going to be good, okay, the truth for me is that I don't know what the hell is going on with the Chargers defense. I honestly have not looked close enough. I'm not an analyst, okay? I'm giving you just kind of the fan perspective on this, okay? That's what I'm doing. But I can tell you this much. Without looking at their roster or injuries or anything else, I don't care. I don't care. My expectation is that if a team is good, and they need to remain that way. If you have injuries, you need to have players to back up said players that have been injured. That is the name of the game. Players are just slamming into each other like fucking cars hitting each other, okay? People get hurt, okay? People get severely hurt. There's multiple injuries this weekend in games. So, but that's why you have backup players. That's why there's a 53-man roster and not a 24-man roster. You know, I mean, there's a reason why there are backups. So it's on the coaches and on the general managers and on the teams themselves to bring in good core players to back up their starters. Let's go to the Ravens. You don't need to throw the ball when you make it into the beginning of the 4th quarter with 164 yards on the ground with 5 different players. Talk about taking the passing pressure off of Lamar Jackson, to say the least. And that's not to say that the dude can't throw, because that's far off base if that's what you think. Lamar may not throw pretty passes all the time, but that dude can chuck it, to say the least, just like I just said. This is literally in my notes. Like, I'll fucking screen share it. I don't care. Damn good work on this roughed up defense, truly stepping up this week. And I think this is a very good offensive squad, and they just smothered them. I do believe that the Chargers offense is a very good squad, and they just got beaten. Okay, they got beaten to a pulp in this game. So it is what it is. Sorry for taking too long on that one and stumbling all over myself. This will be quick. Rams Giants. Ain't no damn surprise with this game. If anybody picked the Rams to beat, or I'm sorry, if anybody picked the Giants to win this game, you're an idiot. Like, that's shooting futures on the stock market with every dime you got. That's crazy talk. Rams 38, Giants 11. Stafford goes 22 of 28. Imagine that. 22 of 28, 4 touchdowns and a pick. And they rushed for 131 yards. Aside from the pick, that's one hell of a way to manage and control the game. They get shut out in the first quarter and then scored in the next 3. The defense just simply dominated and dominated a beat-up offense, as you would expect a good or / great team to do. That's what a good team does, is they go in and they beat up other teams, especially the poor performing teams. You are expected to go beat the shit out of those teams. The Giants, look, the Giants are beat up on both sides of the ball. There's really not much to say aside from they went up against a playoff contending team and they got their collective asses whipped. The only positive that they can literally come out with is that they shut the Rams out in the first quarter. That's the best that they got from this one. That's the truth. To shut out the Rams in the first quarter, that's good on them. Truthfully, it's very good on them. But if that's the best you got, is that you shut out a playoff contending team for one quarter, what? Joe Judge has got to sort that damn team out. No surprise on this one either. Texans, Colts. Texans 3, Colts 31. Texans, surprise, surprise, they still suck. What else can anybody possibly say aside from from continuing to point out just how much of a mess the team is? I mean, for Christ's sake, they just traded off, or they just released one of their edge rushers so he could go to a better team and have a chance and free up some salary space. They're looking to the future at this point because the Texans are just fucking, they're just, they make the Jags look good right now, okay? Aside from records, they make the Jags look good. Home team. Home team, home team. This one's going to be a little bit longer because there's actually quite a bit to go through. Chiefs versus Washington. 31 Chiefs, 13 Washington. This is exactly what I expected the Chiefs to do in this game, truth be told. So this game, like many this season from many teams, there was very much a tale of two halves here. The first half, the Chiefs were garbage. Both sides of the ball, just garbage. The offense was off, the defense was playing like hell, and the 2 turnovers were literally just inexcusable. One on Tyreek Hill and that stupid-ass pick that Mahomes threw. They went into the half down 10-13. The second half was a completely different story, though. 21 unanswered points, and the defense looks so much better. Steve Spagnuolo finally made the right call in replacing Daniel Sorensen with Juan Thornhill. Thank fuck. I said this last week. Thank fucking God he did this. Like I said, as I said this needed to happen. Mahomes ended up going 32 of 47 for 397 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. The first pick, I'm telling you right now, I don't know what is going on with Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill, I want to say his first season as a true receiver, he kind of had the dropsies and he kind of had the, ball squirting through his hand. And it's like this season, it's like he's reverted back to that. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Tyreek Hill, but he is not looking good this year. I know he's getting picked on. People are beating him up, and he's been kind of a little gimpy in a couple of spots. But man, some of these picks that are on Mahomes are not on Mahomes. He's putting them where they need to go, and the receivers aren't getting them. Now, the interception where he was just trying to make something happen, that was just stupid. Like, he even called himself out on it. That was just dumb. So anyway, he went 32-47 for 397 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which is still very much not like his past play. And even with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't know why that dude's name is such a mouthful. Even with Clyde Edwards-Helaire out with an injury, they still managed 109 yards on the ground with 4 different players. If they can start to use their play in this game, even though it was against kind of a shit offense, I think they've got a good chance at kind of righting the ship, especially defensively. Well, I say a little. It's actually a lot too early to say, though. What hurts my head is that Tyrann Mathieu on Monday putting out a post saying that they're ready to take on teams in contention after your second half play. Y'all beat up on a shit-ass offense. This ain't the time to just pop your dick out on the table and try to do a measuring contest. So, like, I'm glad he's excited. And I'm not saying the Honey Badger's a bad player at all, because he is not. He is a damn good player, and he's got a lot of fire. But just because they beat the Washington football team does not mean that they are ready to take on the Ravens, the Bills, the Packers, the Rams, or the Cowboys, or the Cardinals. And the Cowboys are coming soon, by the way. They best get their ass ready for these games. They do not have an easy schedule. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I love the spirit of the post. But you don't spout this shit until you whip the fuck out of a great team with your squad. Because last week, that is not what they did. This week, they beat up on a fucking mediocre offense in half of the game. Wah. Washington. Look, I've said it before, and like I've said time and time again, that defensive unit has the makings of something very good. The first half 100% showed that. Pressured the living hell out of the Chiefs' offense. Mauled Kelsey and Hill and generally harassed the Chiefs' offensive line. The second half, they fell the fuck apart. This defense seemingly couldn't stop shit. And the offense is just a fucking mess with Taylor Heineke at quarterback. They just are. I'm just confused as to why Ron Rivera doesn't put somebody else in there at this point instead of staying with him. It's not like they can really get much worse. The dude went 24 of 39 for 182 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And they only rushed for 94 yards. That's not going to win games. It's not, especially when your defense can't hold up the entire game. It is what it is. NFC North. Big game of interest for me because I wanted to see how the Bears defense was going to hold up against that Packers offense. So, game of interest. Packers 24, Bears 14. Guess they didn't do so well, huh? I mean, they kept them under 30, so that's something, but... Okay, so going into a divisional game, you know that Aaron Rodgers was going to prep as best he could, most especially after the Bears had a solid defensive outing last week. They got shut out in the first quarter, but didn't look back after that. Rodgers went 17 of 23 for 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And they rushed for 154 fucking yards. It didn't need to be pretty offensively, just needed to be a win, and that's exactly what it was. Defensively, they held a mediocre offense to 14 points and let their offense dictate the game, and that's really what good teams do. That is the truth. That is what a good team does. Your defense just needs to hold them back. It doesn't need to be pretty. You just need to hold them back and let your offense dictate what the fuck is going on. I mean, yeah, some teams play that role reversal. The Bears are that kind of team. The Bears are very defensive heavy, offensively mediocre, so you expect the defense to really perform and hold off the other team's offense and let your offense just kind of trickle and get a little few scores here and there and just basically barely stay ahead to win the game. That's how the Bears are built. Going against the Packers, that didn't work. So the Bears, a mediocre offense shows its ugly face in this game of adversity against a better team. Justin Fields went 16 of 27 for 174 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, and they rushed for 140. That's what gets me. That would normally seem like enough, but they needed to stuff the Packers offense way better than what they did. And they just didn't. Not at all. The Packers were at least kept under 30 points, like I said, which is actually better than it sounds, but if your offense can't score more than 14, what the hell's the point? The better team in this game won. That's really the truth. To the Bengals, Lions. Fucking shocker, dude. The Bengals 34, Lions 11. So the Bengals. The Bengals got the luxury of going against an absolutely shit squad this week and won the game as they should have. It's just that simple for the Bengals. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They beat the snot out of an absolute crap team. The Lions. This team just sucks this year. I said that Jared Goff needed someone there to hold his hand for success. I'll get back to my notes here in just a second, but can anybody else now understand the insanity that Sean McVay was dealing with St. Louis and how in the fuck he was able to win with Jared Goff? He was literally babysitting him on every fucking call. This is proof positive. You take the babysitter aspect away from Jared Goff, you ain't winning games with this dude. Not very many. Jared Goff needs an offensive coordinator or a coach that's literally going to handhold him if you want to see success with this guy. And you have got to build a good play-action team. You have to. You've got to have a good O-line. They don't have that. You've got to have a good running game. You don't have that. If you don't have those two things, you are not going to find success with Jared Goff even if somebody is holding his hand. He's just not a trustworthy starter to be let free. Okay? Just saying. So anyway. So, like I said, Jared Goff needed someone there to hold his hand for success, and he just wasn't going to get that here. I mean, how do you possibly expect to win a game if you force Goff to throw the ball 42 times but only muster 36 yards on the ground? This team is such a hot mess, and it just makes my head spin. There's just not much else to say. They just got the hell beaten out of them by a better team. It is what it is. Cardinals Browns. Game of interest. I had a few games of interest. This one doesn't shock me to a point, but it's painful at the same time. Cardinals 37, Browns 14. It's what I expected out of the Cardinals. So here's the thing. You know what hurts my head with the Cardinals? Stupid ass mistakes. So many fumbles from Kyler Murray in the first half is just stupid. I don't care if it's the center, if it's the quarterback, or both of them. That shit's going to catch up with them if they don't get it under control and they aren't careful. Defensively, they did a very, very, very good job in the first half just corralling the Browns, and it helps not having Nick Chubb playing at all in the game. Odell Beckham Jr. gets injured, having to leave in the second half, or I'm sorry, in the second quarter, with yet another injury. The second half was a lot less mistakes and a whole lot more of what we'd expect from this team. Murray goes a total of 20 of 30 for 229 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks, and they rushed for 144 yards with 6 different fucking players throughout the game. They certainly closed out the Browns with this one. They did. The Browns is a fucking description because damn, when half of your two-headed running back monster isn't even playing, that already causes questions and issues. Losing Odell Beckham Jr. is yet another problem, even though he did come back in the second half. Mayfield legit was playing like ass in the first half. Mayfield playing like ass in the first half was just basically like a nail in the coffin for their first half. It was just bad. He looked rough. Looked really rough. The only thing that helped their first half hopes whatsoever was that 57-yard Hail Mary to Peoples-Jones at the very end of the half for a touchdown. Prior to that, Mayfield had gone 11 of 17 for 114 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick. And they had only rushed for 39 yards. That is not the normal way of making things work for this team. It's just not. And you've got to give it to the Browns defense. That they held up against this grinding, that they kept grinding against the Cardinals O-line and pressuring Kyler Murray. That's at least one thing that they can hold their heads up high, in my opinion. And that's what kept him in the first half. The second half was a bit different. Granted, the Cardinals only put up 2 scores against the defense in this half, but that's all that was needed to keep them in this game and completely out of reach for the banged up offense that was just trying to catch up. So in the end, Baker Mayfield had a shit second half. Granted, he was playing hurt, dislocated his fucking left shoulder, and still kept trying. And then the running game, only having Kareem Hunt, who also left the game with injury and is going to be out for a minute. And it just wasn't good enough. And this really, in my opinion, comes down to an O-line that also has injuries as well. And the defense just could not put a cork in the Cardinals. And it forced the offense to try and have to force the matter. And it just fell apart. I mean, this was just a snowball game for the Browns. This is just like one thing after another just went horribly wrong for them. So I've been saying that the Browns defense has been off and on. This is a perfect example. They could not keep up with a contending team. Definitely not a good outing for the Browns whatsoever. This does not instill my confidence for them facing contenders later in the season. If they can't work out their injury situations with good backup players, this is going to be a very, very long, bad season for them. And I'm sorry I'm stumbling over myself, guys. I really am. It's been kind of a long day. So anyway, Cowboys Patriots. This one shocked me. This one shocked me on the amount of contention and the Cowboys defense in comparison to the Patriots offense. Okay? So look, when you finish out the first half of the game literally leading every stat, including penalties, except yards per play, you shouldn't be at the 2-minute warning of the second quarter down 10-14 against to the worst team in this game. Thankfully, the offense was up to the task to stay in this game, and the defense not performing as well as they should have. What honestly surprised me about this game was that it actually even went to overtime. I truthfully did not expect the Patriots to have the ability to keep up. And let's give a big shout out to Trayvon Dixon for his continued harassment of quarterbacks in his continued run of interceptions and potential pick sixes. The dude is legit a fucking beast. I keep hearing a wide receiver and a defender. I've heard so many commentators say that shit. Trayvon Diggs, wide receiver, he's a wide receiver, is a defender. Yeah. That's the truth, man. That dude can cut routes. He catches like a fucking receiver. He's got good vision on quarterbacks. If he continues to play like this for years to come, oh my fucking God, I pity any quarterback going against him. I really do. This dude is legit a beast. He just is. And by the way, the score was 35-29, Cowboys over Patriots. Patriots, the defense showed that they have started to close up some of the holes against the run, and they held Dak Prescott to under 200 yards in the first half, which is actually pretty good given how he's been performing. The offense had done its job, and that's to stay ahead of a very dynamic offense on the other side of the ball the best that they can. Mac Jones finished 7 of 7 in the first half for 100 fucking yards and a touchdown. Not too terrible for a rookie, especially against what's typically a menacing opponent for that first half. They finished out Mac Jones 15 of 21 for 229 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and they got 119 yards rushing with 5 different players, which is not terrible. And that's honestly a bit of a statement since the Cowboys D-line and their linebackers have been a fairly solid group. Truthfully, this just came down to some bad coverage on CeeDee Lamb in the overtime. That's what finished them off, man. They had just shit coverage on CeeDee Lamb in the very last play of the game in overtime, and they got a touchdown, and so they lost the game. So it is what it is. Another game of interest, and this was really, truthfully, a game of interest, only to see how the Raiders were going to come out on this game, losing their head coach. So the Raiders 34, Broncos 24. I didn't know what to expect from them as soon as they hit the field with all the insane media and everything else around their John Gruden situation. I'll say that this obviously was not perfect, but it's a testament to this team's willingness to try to gut out the insanity and just be the best that they can. Derek Carr went 18 of 27 for 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks, and they rushed for 87 yards with 4 players, so that's not great, but not bad. Defensively, they really only gave up more fluff numbers towards the end of the game. They just harassed the hell out of the Broncos offense for the majority of this game. The score doesn't reflect the defensive gameplay, in my opinion. This was actually a very good statement game for the Raiders to show that they aren't just going to fall apart and crumble with the loss of their head coach. I'm telling you right now, man, I was back and forth watching that Raiders game, and that defense was just mauling the shit out of the Broncos. They literally just gave up some bullshit-ass plays on the Broncos. That's what happened, because, man, they were harassing the shit out of the Broncos. So for the Broncos, I think this is what we get to expect from this team at this point. Unless they just truly start to sort out the multitude of issues that they're fighting, I have a strong feeling that they're going to end up at the bottom of the AFC West by the end of this season. The glaring stat that absolutely killed them in this game is turnovers. I assumed that Teddy Bridgewater would have been a much better game manager for them. And man, was I wrong about it in this one. They gave the ball up 4 times. 4 times to a very determined defense. That's rough. That is rough. Teddy Bridgewater went 35 of 49 for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And they rushed for 112 yards and gave up a fumble. It's hard to fight back when your defense can't force a turnover to equal it out, or can't force turnovers to equalize it out. And they certainly didn't do that whatsoever. The Broncos defense is built great and performing like a bunch of third stringers. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. I don't understand this Broncos team whatsoever. Their roster is way better than what they're showing. It just is. So the Seahawks versus Steelers. I didn't really know what to think of what going into this game. I really didn't, but here we go. Seahawks 20, Steelers 23. So good on the Steelers on this one. Seahawks, what do you say? The first half was an absolute joke. It looked like a high school varsity squad against an NFL defense. They just couldn't get shit going the entire time. The defense did well 3 out of 4 quarters, surprisingly, especially given all the holes that are in that unit right now. They did terrible in the second quarter, allowing 2 touchdowns, though. The second half on both sides, boy, did Pete Carroll really make a fucking statement with that. Like, he had just had enough, man. Pete Carroll was pacing like a motherfucker by the end of the first half. That dude looked so pissed off. He really did. They literally came out in the second half and just ran the ball down the Steelers' throat. And they got it back all the way to overtime. And if it weren't for the Geno Smith fumble in overtime, there was a solid chance that they actually could have won this game. That would have really truly been the builder that this team needed. Now, unless they make one hell of a comeback rapidly, there's just a very good chance that they're out of contention. At least well before Russell Wilson comes back from his finger surgery and injury. So the Steelers... Here we go again with these guys. Good on them for hitting 500 for now. Does this game show me leaps and bounds of improvement? No. I mean, when Ben Roethlisberger literally tells interviewers when they ask him how he feels and his response is old, that's not good. So Big Ben goes 29 of 40 for 229 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. That doesn't really scream great for me either. Again, when you throw the ball 40 fucking times and you only complete it 29 and you only get 229 yards, that's a lot of underneath passing. That is a shit ton of underneath passing. It is. It just is. That a couple of deep passes but most of it was just, holy shit, we need these passes down low just to get to the marker. Defensively, what the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck? We know the Steelers defense. They're not trash. Okay, they're not. They're not amazing, but they're not trash. They got some good fucking players. They really do. The first quarter, they did exactly what I expected. They just shut them the hell down. I mean, backup quarterback, dinged up O-line, backup running back is the perfect scenario. And I'm sorry, the first half. The second half showed up, and my God, it was like the Hoover Dam broke on how many big runs they could just let go. They allowed 209. God almighty. The 209 that they allowed in the air wasn't the terrible thing when you shut the team down in the first half. But they ran for 143 yards, and a lot of that was in the second half. They got a lot of work to do. I mean, great overtime heads-up play by TJ Watt. Okay, truthfully. Watt had a hell of a play to force that fumble. And that's what won the game for them in the end. But that second half, dude, that just makes fucking head spin. How the hell do you just basically shut down a team for a half of the game and then let them come back and tie that bitch at the very end? And then if it wasn't for a heads-up defensive play in overtime, you could have lost that game. Come the fuck on, man. Dude. The Monday night game, Bills versus Titans. Holy shit. Again, if I was a betting man, this has been game over. Bills 31, Titans 34. How you like that? Holy shit. The Bills. So I stated last week, the Bills did not show me that they were for real yet. And my reasons are very simple. Or my reasons were very simple. They just hadn't played great teams to that point. Now, the Titans aren't a great team per se. Much like the Chiefs of last week, they have a good to great offense and a very suspect defense. The big difference here is the fact that you have a very defensively minded head coach prepping your team to play, prepping to play your team. Oh my fucking God. The big difference here was the fact that you had a very defensively based coach that was prepping to play your team. Okay? That's the big thing. The Bills made some very, very questionable offensive calls. Considering what the Bills are capable of, some people will say it was a good idea, some people won't. Okay? But the second half of this game, the Titans really showed the fuck up against that Bills offense. Okay? So if you're having problems moving the fucking ball and really doing what you want to do, because it's like the team prepped to really handle Josh Allen running the ball, why in fuck's sake? I don't care if it was 4th and 1 at the end of the fucking game. Why not kick that damn field goal, go to overtime and kick their ass? The Bills are capable. If they're that good on offense, they are capable of doing this. But instead, they go for a 4th and 1 and get absolutely fucking stuffed and shut down in the final few seconds of the game. Like, I think it was like 20 some odd seconds left in the game. I don't understand that line of thinking whatsoever. I just don't. Josh Allen in this game just looked uncomfortable. He went 35 of 47 for 353 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So not a terrible day, but he just didn't look as confident as he has been in these prior games. The defense is where I wanted to see how they would stand up, and to be honest, this game showed me a lot more than I thought it would. When you allow Derrick Henry to roll 143 yards on you on the ground, that's not going to end well. The Bills just need to fill in these holes on both sides, and they will have me convinced. Because as of right now, I see the two best AFC teams are still the Bills and the Ravens. But right now, the Ravens are the better team. They've played the harder schedule so far, and they are the better team. Now, is it going to stay that way? I don't know. Do I think the Bills are trash? No. The Bills have a shit ton of talent, okay? They really do. They've got a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. They got a shitload of talent. But this is a game, in my opinion, that they should have won. It really is. I don't know what to say. Titans, if there were ever a time to make a statement and have that statement game, this was the one that the Titans needed, and God almighty, dude, did they do it. Everybody voting against it. Everybody just, no, Titans, no, they're going to get beat. They're going to get beat. I'm pretty sure that Mike Vrabel must have torn this defense a new asshole prior to this game, because they truthfully didn't play amazing, but they certainly did good enough to control the Bills far more than I thought they would. That speaks leaps and bounds to the potential of this team's growth on the long term if they can remain consistent. That's the truth, man. I mean, it's like I said, the Titans defense has been confusing as hell to me. Just fucking making my head spin, dude. It's like some poltergeist shit going on. And when you've got a guy like Mike Vrabel, linebacker for the Patriots, linebacker for the Chiefs, knows offensive play scheming, scored touchdowns as as a blocking, basically playing like a blocking tight end, even though he's a linebacker, basically playing like a blocking tight end and then sneaking into the end zone for a few touchdowns for both the Chiefs and the Patriots. I mean, The dude knows offense. It's not his bag per se, but he does know offense, and he's got the coaching staff to do what he needs, and he's got the players to do what he needs. This game proved positive. He's got the players to do it. They're just kind of up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. If they can maintain just some level of consistency, the Titans' defense might possibly at least be able to try to keep them in contention. That's the truth. Offensively, I really wasn't shocked so much. But aside from Derrick Henry, they just didn't play amazing either. Tannehill went 18 of 29 for 216 yards and a pick. No touchdowns. No throwing touchdowns. Hurt your head. Derrick Henry ran for 143 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Tannehill actually ran a touchdown in as well. They used the ground game 100% to their advantage in this one, and it showed a big glaring hole in the Bills' defense in this game. They showed that with the right scheming, you can push that Bills defense around all over the place in the trenches. Kudos for the Titans to really watching the film, really scheming this game out, taking it down to the wire, and pulling out a win. I mean, yes, was it a damn good heads-up play to stop Josh Allen on that 4th down call? Yeah. Josh Allen is a big dude. On a 4th and 1, you would expect him to pull out a 4th and 1 quarterback sneak. You really would. Heads up play on that defense for pulling out the win for the Titans on that one. Because otherwise, they were about to lose that damn game. The defense, of all things, won that game for them. So, there's week 6. Some teams got a shit ton of work to do. Some teams are showing progress. Some teams are showing more regression. And some teams are just still sitting there in that question mark area of just really how good are they? So that's what I got, man. Hope you guys could deal with all my mumbling, bumbling, stumbling, retarded ass note reading. I'll catch you guys next week.